The approach that we take is figuring out what is the assets that the brand has, what can we elevate with really high quality stock imagery, what can we elevate with really high quality AI imagery, how do we make the two come together? And sometimes we're using really high quality stock to inspire our AI. Sometimes we're blending the two, so it doesn't have to be one or the other. It's just, it's figuring out what's the right blend of how to do that.
Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, Ecommerce Marketing Podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen and I am your host. And today we have a very special guest, Daniela Bolzmann, who is the founder of mindfulgoods.co, which is the go-to creative studio for Amazon brands. And as a featured speaker at Amazon Accelerate 2024, she is a leading expert in Amazon optimization and supports hundreds of e-commerce brands to double and triple their sales on Amazon with creative content that converts. Welcome to the podcast, Daniela.
Thank you so much for having me, Arlen. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, and thank you for joining us. We're really excited to talk to you because we're going to be talking about something a little bit interesting. This is something that I believe you've developed over your years in marketing and business and e-com and Amazon, which is how brands can triple their sales with what you call a simple 3-step buy now method. And I'm really excited to kind of dive into that and for you to tell us all about it and how we can be a part of that. But, before we do dive into that, I'm really just curious about your whole journey as to how you got to where you are today. And if you don't mind sharing, your, what led you to creating Mindful Goods?
Yeah, great question. So my background is in marketing. I've been doing marketing almost 20 years now, maybe more. And my background, or what led me to this, is that I used to have a tech business, which I exited. And I realized as a full stack marketer, I really wanted to specialize in something within marketing, within my expertise. And one of the areas that I was very curious to explore was e-com. So when I started diving into e-com, I was either going to go the Shopify route or the Amazon route. I chose the Amazon route. I made a very good decision at the time, but a little crazy of a decision. And you'll probably agree with me in a minute. The first 2 years of this business, I was a full service Amazon provider. So I was helping brands with their advertising. I was helping them with their prep and ship. I was helping them with their strategy. I was helping them. They came to me and they were like, I want to build a chatbot that goes to this page, that does this, that does that. I was the yes person. I was like, yes, I will do it all. Gotcha. And sometimes I didn't know how to do it, but I was like, you know what, I will figure it out. And I did it. What you probably know, is when you're running a business and you're saying yes to everything, you're doing nothing well. So after a couple years of that and pulling my hair out, I realized there was a zone of genius that we had, and we pivoted into that, which is now just a full content studio, which is just SEO and graphics for brands that sell on Amazon, specifically brands that are more of that D2C style brand that you'll see kind of like a Mary Ruth's or a food brand or anything that is well packaged, that is a packaged good that has a little bit of a better branding element to it.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Cool stuff. And you mentioned everything that you were doing as kind of a full service agency, doing everything. It's definitely something I can relate to when you're a full service agency, because that kind of my background. I got started in the web design development business way back, kind of at the very beginning of the internet.
I did that
so to
too.
And so I know what you're saying when you're that yes person saying you can kind of do everything. It can get exhausting, and I know you've been there, and trying to meet every need of your client, and the back and the forth, and the whole thing. I think one of the things that prompted us as a business to transition from the full service web design element of the business to creating a SaaS software was just that, especially when we were doing it in the early days of the internet, a lot of business owners that we were dealing with didn't really value our work per se, as far as what it took to do certain things. They would be like, oh, can you just change this one color? Can you modify this one button? Can you do this, do that? Oh, that doesn't seem like that'll take too long. And, just getting that one too many times led us to just say, okay, we gotta do something else.
Yeah. And from our perspective, it felt like we could maybe do many of the things right. But then when it came down to it, it's like each thing really requires a good amount of focus, right? So today we have a lot of brands that come to us and they're like, we're driving traffic, we're able to drive traffic, but why aren't we able to convert? And a lot of the conversation that you see online right now is dominated by advertising. It's like, just run ads. But ads are not always the solution, especially if you're plateauing or not converting. You need to go back to the basics and really understand at the fundamental level of your product page, what is going on there? Do you need to refresh your content? Do you need to infuse some more keywords? So that's kind of where our heads are at right now. We've just become best in class at just this one thing. And because we've become best in class at this one thing, we've become known as like the provider for the 7 and 8 figure type brands.
Yeah, it's really good to be able to kind of niche down and focus is something that I've seen over the years is where a lot of the brands and companies that have success have done that, because they're that's what they do. They're focusing on just that particular aspect. So it's definitely understand where you're coming from. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, we're going to be talking about this framework that you've come up with, which is the buy now method for Amazon sales. That's helped many brands, triple their sales. And so why don't you break it down for us? How does this 3-step method work?
So I'll say one caveat. This came from a list of all the things that we do, a master checklist of all the million things that we do to check listings and make sure that we're following all these steps. But really what I've noticed is Amazon brands specifically, they always have 150 things going on at once. And we need a simple way to look at our conversions and figure out where is the problem, right? And so it really breaks down into a funnel. So if you look at the first step, it's going to be, how do we get found with search? So have we looked at our search query reports? Have we pulled our best converting keywords from PPC? Have we pulled in all the data that we have at our disposal at this point in time? Have we done an analysis of all our reviews, our competitors' reviews? Have we pulled in as many data sources as we can that are relevant to our product and our brand? And have we distilled that down and infused that back into our listing copy and creatives now, so that we can make sure that we're showing up in search organically as much as possible, and that we're aligning that search traffic with whatever is actually converting on the paid PPC side, right? Okay. So it's a little twofold there, but that's step one. Mm-hmm. So once you've gotten found in the search, so assuming you're showing up now, how do we get people to click on your product versus anybody else's product, right? Because that's step two. Well, when you imagine the search results and you see a bunch of products that all look the same, we want to make sure your product is what's catching the attention of shoppers and getting them to click. And so we have a very critical focus on the main image and making sure that we're split testing and coming up with different concepts to basically make sure that our main image is the thing that is grabbing the attention out of the 8 or 12 that you're looking at when you're first scrolling, right? Yep. So that's step number 2. So you've gotten found you're getting seen now with your SEO. You've gotten the clicks through that main image. Now they come into your listing. How do we get them to convert? How do we get more sales? And this is about making sure that every single image serves a function and that every single image is answering the questions of your shopper. And so again, this goes back to all that data you do at the beginning, that data dive. You just basically want to reassess everything and say, what are my top 5 selling points? How do I make sure that these are infused? What are the questions, the top 5 questions that customers are asking in order to buy this product? Because most of us, we have just a few questions. Like, it's like, I just need something that's this size. Is it going to fit in my suitcase? Is it good quality? And is it the color green? You have these, like, this mental checklist as a shopper of what you're looking for in the moment. And that doesn't change too much. It's like, that's going to be a maximum of like 5 to 10 things. So as long as we're answering that in our copy and in our creatives, which is really essential because 90% of what we digest is going to be visual. And now we know Rufus is scanning these images. So we want to make sure that Rufus is also able to identify and address customer questions as well. That is basically the biggest concern of your imagery, making sure that it's telling that story all the way down, answering those questions. And if you can do those 3 steps really well, then you can expect to see a return on your refresh.
Okay, that sounds like that's some really good stuff. It sounds like if you get past, the person gets past the search, they do their search, and then, the company, they get to the point where, of course, they show up in the results, which is the first step. And they're showing up fairly prominently. The next thing is, of course, the imagery, which I think is, in my opinion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there should be a lot of weight on that particular image, that main image that you're displaying, because I'm a huge Amazon shopper. I'm constantly buying stuff on Amazon, probably more than I should. And so I'm searching for different things. I'm thinking about things that I need. And then, I'm just mainly looking, when I do that initial search, I'm mainly looking at those particular images. Is there a particular rule of thumb as far as what should be shown for that image, quality wise? And then does it depend on the type of product that you're actually, selling? Is there That's
a great question. Yeah, it's a great question. It is very category specific. Okay. It's very category specific. So you need to do a competitive analysis of your images. We use a tool called Data Dive, where we pull in all the competitors' images in one click. We get an AI analysis of what's going on in those images, what customers are saying in the reviews. And then we're able to kind of say, okay, this is the buying behavior. This is the avatar of the customer who's buying this. And this is the emotive language they have. This is the questions they have. This is the things that they care about. We're able to kind of, using that data, dictate like which ones we think are the highest priority. So if you'd imagine, like, there's 1,000 reviews and 250 of them are mentioning one specific thing over and over and over again that they like about the product. Well, guess what? That moves up to the top of the list of what should be shown as one of the first things that customers see. The other thing that we use is a tool called IntelliV, where you can do a product image split test. And so I'm a big fan of using third-party split testing tools. So PickFood, Product Opinion, IntelliV, those are my 3 favorites. We use them in different ways. But IntelliV specifically has an amazing product image stack test where you throw in your product images, you run your split test, and then it's going to tell you which order of importance those images should be uploaded in. And also customers are going to be able to upvote and downvote images. So you'll be able to see, okay, why did this one not get any votes, or why did this one get significantly more downvotes, right? And you can kind of say, okay, this is not only the order, but now we know which ones we need to focus on improving moving forward.
Hey, before we jump into the next question, I want to take a quick second to talk about something that's been a game changer for so many business owners, including myself. That's public speaking. If you're running an e-commerce brand, marketing agency, or any business, your ability to communicate clearly and confidently can really make all the difference. Whether you're pitching to investors, speaking at conferences, or even just creating content that connects with your audience. That's exactly why I created speaktoempower.com, a coaching program designed to help you master public speaking without fear. You can start with my free 10-day course where I walk through essential strategies to overcome nervousness, engage in the audience, and speak with confidence. And if you want to go even deeper, I offer weekly virtual group coaching sessions and one-on-one coaching tailored to your needs. So if you've ever felt like you could be more confident on camera, on stage, or even in day-to-day business conversations, head over to speaktoempower.com and get started for free today. All right, now back to the episode. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's you're really just tailoring it based on the testing, the results, what people are gravitating to, and then where you're getting the most click-throughs. It makes a lot of sense. Look, I'm really curious as to with regards to the development of these images, especially these days, the way that where we are right now with AI and ChatGPT being able to spit out super high quality images of a brand's product with just a prompt. What's your take on that? Do you use that? Do you recommend brands to use it, or do you say that's a no-go?
It's, you know what, it's a really hot topic right now. So I'm glad you're asking. I'll say we've been using AI imagery for at least 9 months already. So this isn't news to us.
Sure.
Where I think it's critical to look at is your product suitable for AI, and is the AI that you're using the AI imagery that you're using really high quality and building trust? Because at the end of the day, there is something subconscious that we know when we look at some AI images. We're kind of like, something looks off, it just doesn't look like totally real, or like something's off about it, and that's what you don't want. You don't want to lose trust in the buying process, right? So there is a way to kind of balance it out and use AI in an appropriate way to like fill gaps. There's very few products that can get away with using all AI across the board. It's very similar to brands that I've seen that have come to us and they've used all renders across their entire listing. And you look at it and you're like, it's not that the renders look all that terrible. Like they're in some cases, they're actually really good renders, but it's just something is off with it and you just can't kind of place it. It just looks like very sterile, and it's just the same render, or like change the angle just slightly, So imagine if you do that with AI and it's just something's off with it. It just doesn't feel like right. It's what I equate to like when you go to a foreign country and you see how they do billboards and you're like, wow, that advertisement would never work in the United States. Or that, you know what I mean? It's kind of that like subconscious thing as American shoppers, like we know, like we're intuitively like digesting things visually so fast that we know what's off and what's not. So I think you have to be careful with it and make sure you're doing it in a really high quality way and with balance. So the approach that we take is figuring out what is the assets that the brand has? What can we elevate with really high quality stock imagery? What can we elevate with really high quality AI imagery? How do we make the two come together? And sometimes we're using really high quality stock to inspire our AI. Sometimes we're blending the two. So it doesn't have to be one or the other. It's just, it's figuring out what's the right blend of how to do that. And then I will tell you, the thing that's actually even more interesting for me right now is while we are using these tools, and while we are absolutely using AI imagery, we have like amazing examples of the AI images that we've created that we love. We can use humans, we can use pets. It's amazing. It's incredible.
Yeah.
What I will say is even more exciting for me is we used to turn away a ton of brands that had really huge catalogs. Like we're talking tens of thousands of SKUs. And they would come to us and say, we love your work, but we want our entire catalog worked on. And we would be as a small boutique design team that's doing custom high quality design. We're not Fiverr. So we'd be working on that till the end of time. So we've turned those deals away. Gotcha. And unfortunately we've had to turn them away, and such a bummer because we would love to work with these like huge, amazing brands. And now with AI, we're actually able to create our master of the aesthetic of what we're looking for using the same data-driven process that we do. We create our master, we train the I on what it needs to do, and then it rolls it out across the catalog accordingly with some human adjustments along the way, right? Because it's not 100%, like there's always gonna be that human touch, but it would take what would take years or months down to, days and minutes.
Yeah, I see that, and it's some really powerful stuff. I was, and it's good that you guys have been able to really leverage it to be able to meet the needs of some of those bigger customers. Because I can imagine prior to AI, like you said, as a small boutique agency to be able to create 10,000 or so images. I mean, like you said, it'd take you to the end of time to do that. If you have a graphic designer, using Photoshop or whatever, it's just not possible. But
Even the
now,
quality checks you have to do. Like if
yeah,
you have, let's say
exactly.
you have even just 20 flavors or even just three
Yep.
flavors, you still
Hmm.
have to do manual checks to make sure that when you changed the orange to lime and the lime to strawberry, that every single thing is perfect, that there's no typos. Like that's
Yeah.
something that can be better done with AI now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really cool. I was watching a guy that was kind of going through what you can do with some of this advanced feature of ChatGPT, and he used it to basically take his particular product. He sold some type of cold brew product, and he used it to create an influencer, in a real life setting, about to drink the product, holding it up. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really realistic. I mean, if I didn't know, looking at the picture beforehand, that it was AI generated, I don't think I would have been able to tell at all. It's really amazing how good it's gotten with this, with the
Yeah.
latest release with it. So
And if
really
you've ever
cool.
had to do a photo shoot with like kids or cats or anything
Oh
like
yeah,
that, like
yeah, I can
how
imagine
difficult that can be.
for
So like we
sure.
have a client that has like a slime kit where kids
Yeah.
can like make a pizza with like all the slimy dough
Hmm.
and everything.
Yeah.
And can you imagine like trying to get kids to play with it and like, no, go like this and make this certain face? I mean, kids are gonna
Right.
give you five
Exactly.
minutes of that and then they're gonna be over it, you know?
Exactly. That would be a nightmare. So, but with AI, you can have it do anything. So,
Yeah, no, with
yeah,
AI, we have the perfect child and smiling in the
yeah,
most perfectly authentic way.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of power in it. And so, speaking of examples, you mentioned a client of yours. I wanted to know, could you share an example, a real world example of a brand that you've either worked with or you're familiar with in general that's, implemented your strategy, this buy now method, and,
Yeah.
what were the specific results that they saw and, what led them to that?
We've got many, many, many results. So we service about 150 brands every year. About 82% of those brands are seeing anywhere from 20% to 2,500% increase in sales. So
Oh, wow.
2,500% increase in sales is our record we're trying to break right now.
Mhm.
But that's something I'm really proud of is that with most brands, if you just follow this process, and I will say, I'm talking about brands, like if you're selling a commodity product, it is very hard to stand out.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
you can still do these steps and still do better, but the type of results that I'm talking about are with packaged goods primarily, or things that are very well branded. Those are the clients that we work with, right? So we have, who's my latest case study? We just worked with a wonderful brand called Mamalu, and
Mhm.
I have to look and see what her results were. I think she had hundreds of. Let's see. Let me just pull that up really quick. Okay, so Mamalu, she saw almost 100% increase in orders.
Wow.
And I think
Okay.
it's actually even gone up from there since
Hmm.
then. We need to update that case study. But this one I love because this is a client that came to us, small business owner, female founded. She's a mother. She came up with this product for her kids.
Hmm.
And it's basically, those chocolate boxes that you open at Christmas and you take a chocolate out each day.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
basically a box like that, but for crafts with kids. Like
Oh, wow.
it's all of these
Nice.
little compartments that you open. You don't have to do
Okay.
it by day, but you
Yeah.
could.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like 10 activities in a box, 19 activities in a box, like all these different activities in one box. And
Hmm.
they're all these little crafts. And so, for instance, I bought the box, brought it to play with my nieces, and even all the adults came around the table and started doing these crafts with the nieces.
Right.
And my husband was like, that was actually such a great gift and activity. He never pictured everyone coming together around the table to play with the two girls, and the girls were like
Hmm.
completely engaged, and
Okay.
I mean, one of them is autistic and still stayed completely engaged with us the entire time. So it's
Wow.
just a testament to a really great product. So she came to us.
Yep.
She had these listings that just felt, to her, they were like a good start, but they could always get better, is what she said, and they felt a little cluttered. And so for us, what we had the opportunity to do at that point, because she was starting to work with an advertising agency, we were able to take the data that they had, pull the data from Data Dive, pull the data from the reviews, do an AI analysis, understand what are the real selling points that we need to hit home on, and what is the messaging that we think is working here. And then we basically cleaned up the images and made them very not just kid friendly, but parent friendly, and then gave them this new polished, clean aesthetic that's mobile friendly. And so that's one of my favorites. Another brand that we work with, actually, this is a surprising one. So we worked with a brand called Feel Good Foods, and this is a frozen foods product. So they had, I think, about 15 SKUs, something like that. And this one was already a dominant player in their category. So they were going through a rebrand. They came to us and wanted to like refresh their entire catalog. We did, and they're the ones that saw a 2,500% increase in sales, which is just shocking to me. Normally it doesn't surprise me at this point when clients see like 600%, 1,000%, like I'm not that surprised. But with them, I was surprised because they were already a market leader. We don't anticipate market leaders really, getting that much of an increase in sales. So I think when you refresh your content, it also gives your advertising team the confidence to push on the gas a little bit more, And so in that case, we worked really closely with their advertising team. They were really happy with the conversion rate lift. And so they just went for it and they put the pedal to the metal. So that was an awesome one.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting product. And that's definitely a great case study to see the results that they had using, your particular method. Looking at on the other side of it, there's a lot of course, brands that are constantly out there on Amazon. They're trying to optimize their listings. They're doing all of these different things. And I'm sure you've seen it all and you probably heard it all when brands first approach you and they tell you, this is what we've done. What would you say are most common misunderstandings or pitfalls that brands kind of go through when they're trying to optimize their listings?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. So like one, what I'll say is we work with a lot of brands that have Shopify sites. So those brands, I think they naturally tend to gravitate towards Amazon as that next step if they started with Shopify. And so when that happens, sometimes they think, okay, I'm going to just take what I have on Shopify and just copy paste, bring it to Amazon. Yeah. And that for me has been like one of the number one things that we've looked at and seen as like a critical error, because when you do that, you're not doing the keyword research. So you don't have anything for step number one that we talked about, getting found. And then you'll see all of the images that work on Shopify don't necessarily translate to Amazon because they're just either lifestyle images with no text on them or just flat lays of products. And while they're beautiful for Instagram and they're beautiful for Shopify, you have the complete attention of your shopper with no advertisements whatsoever. On Amazon, you don't. You have a million advertisements sitting on your product pages for all these competitors that are trying to distract your shopper. So you really need to make sure that like if you have their attention looking at an image, that you're showing them and telling something at the same time, that it's not just a plain static image with no text, because that might be the only image they see. Just because they see 2 or 3 images in your product carousel, they might just go straight down to the reviews. They might not see your A+. And likewise, they may never click to get into your product image carousel. They might scroll down because they didn't click the button to go straight down to the reviews. They might scroll and then hit your A+, and you better hope that you have amazing A+ to get them to stop the scroll, right? So that's the critical error on the Shopify side. And then the critical error just across the board, I think, is there's a lot of service providers out there, and there's a lot of tools for creating graphics. A lot of times people are trying to get things done for a budget, and really on your creative side, you don't want to start with like the most budget friendly option. You want something that looks, I'm not saying you have to come to us, but something that looks good enough, like good for your product and your category to help you stand out. But if you're coming to market and you're launching a product and you're going to Fiverr and getting a really cheap set of images, and then you're hoping to compete with people that are on page one that are spending thousands of dollars on creatives, like it's just not a fair comparison. You're just, you're when you see something beautiful, like you see a brand like Mary Ruth's and you're like, oh my gosh, they get it. That's amazing. That's beautiful. And then you see a supplement brand on Amazon that has like nothing on their page, and like you don't have trust in it, So it's like there's a way to step ladder into it so that you are doing what you do at the stage that you're at. A good example of this, we had a brand that came to us as a pet supplements brand. It was a brand called Rusty's. And when they first got their creatives, they went to, I don't know if they went to Fiverr, but they went to probably a friend of theirs that did graphic design, but didn't really necessarily have a brand aesthetic yet. They just got some very simple images done in a very like Canva style format just to get the product launched. As soon as the product was launched and he realized, okay, we're actually getting some sales. So there is a market for this product. Pet multivitamins. Of course there is, So he got some cash flow going and he used that cash to reinvest in creatives and stronger SEO. And then he saw his sales lift from there. So it's like, there is a way to step ladder into it, but I'm cautious against brands that are starting at the very bottom and you're just putting yourself in a low commodity category. So
yeah, I see. And I get where brands are coming from. Me being someone that has never sold anything on Amazon, but I've had different, and I'm familiar with Shopify. Of course, we have tons of customers in Shopify, so I'm familiar with that ecosystem. And I get it. I get why brands would just say, okay, let's just take everything we have here, put it on Amazon, call it a day. It seems simple, it seems easy, but I get what you're saying. It's really different. The whole search process is different than how people interact with Google and then a Shopify store versus the search on Amazon and the keywords that are all within their whole ecosystem. And, like you said, the imagery, everything is a bit different. So, yeah, definitely
on
get
on
it.
the flip side, I will say, like, we've had brands that have a full e-com team come to us. And they're still handing off the project to us. And it's because their team is very well trained on the Shopify side. They're not as cross-trained on the Amazon side. They want to make sure it's done well. And they just need it done in a time frame that like they don't have time to learn that learning curve. So they're like, they come to us and they're just like, here's everything you need. Can you get this done? And we're like, wow, okay, great. It's like following a recipe at that point because they have a brand guide, they have assets, they have everything ready to go. And then we show them the process that we go through and they can replicate that in the future. So it's not just small brands that struggle with this. It's every size of brand. And so it's like, if they're familiar with Amazon, they can do it. And if they're not, there's a huge learning curve. So it's just,
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I've always been curious myself. At some point, I'm gonna maybe come up with a brand, and just for my own kind of knowledge, because I've had a ton of people on that do Amazon marketing. I've talked to different brand owners, and I'm always been on the outside looking in. So at some point or other, I'm gonna come up with something and try to sell it on Amazon, just so I'm familiar with that whole process, because I'm really curious.
You know what the easiest thing is if you just want to learn it in a weekend?
Yeah, sure. What's that?
It is set up an Amazon seller account, go to Target, look for something that's on sale. That's not a Disney product or like a Star Wars or like a trademarked, something.
Oh, sure.
Find something that's on clearance.
Yeah.
Look it up on Amazon. Just start with like the reselling side.
Okay.
Because that's the way that you can get through that learning curve of like, how do you list a product?
Yeah.
How would I price this product? You can like go through the mental activity without the upfront cost of buying your inventory, doing all of that, because you're going to get the gist of like what it takes just by doing that. And then you're going to be like, okay, now think through, now if I had to get creatives for this and I had to get, my SEO done for this and I had to, how much inventory would I buy? Like those are totally like phase 2 considerations,
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a great advice. That's definitely something I could easily do. Like you said, the reselling side, a lot easier than just, coming up with a whole brand and that whole process. So maybe at some point I will do that. But I appreciate that. Well, Daniela, this has been an awesome conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. I've learned a lot. It seems like this method is that you went through, the buy now method, is definitely something that I think any brand can follow. So really straightforward. And thank you for breaking it down for us. But lastly, before we do let you go, I always like to switch gears a little bit just so our audience of listeners and viewers can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact about yourself that you think we'd be interested to know.
Oh my gosh, a fun fact about myself. I have a French bulldog named Piggy Smalls.
That's funny. Okay. Piggy Smalls. Okay. Very unique. I like it. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Piggy Smalls. Okay. Wow. Interesting. All right, really cool. Cool name. Well, Daniela, this has been awesome. Before we do let you go, if anybody wants to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about selling on Amazon or your buy now method of selling, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Sure. You can head to mindfulgoods.co. We actually have a full checklist for our buy now method.
Okay.
That's a free download on our website. And at the
great.
very bottom of our homepage, we have something called a mini audit. So if you want myself or one of our creative directors to look at your listing, you can purchase a mini audit and we will go through the 3-step process with you on a Loom video to show you exactly the things that you should be focused on. And you should be able to take that video and hand it off to your designer. And if you want to work with us, you absolutely can. So I recommend that as a step for anybody who's interested in taking a test drive with us.
Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate you offering that. We'll definitely be sure to have the link to your site and reference to that offering within the show notes as well as on our website, so people can definitely, check it out from there. Well, this has been awesome having you on, Danielle. I really appreciate you coming on the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thanks, Arlen.
Thank you for listening to the E-Commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.